What's up guys? So today we're going to be talking about the Sigma 17mm f2. This lens came out I think a couple of years ago, though it never actually caught on, it never got much traction. But it's pretty much a super compact lens from Sigma that doesn't necessarily compromise on image quality as long as you don't need a super bright aperture. So I rented it for about a week and a half, and in this video I'm going to talk about my impressions of it and show some sample photos. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So first off, given that we're talking about a super compact lens, let's talk about the size and the weight. So size-wise, it measures about 2.3 inches, which I believe is about 5.8 centimeters for metric users. And surprisingly, it's not actually super light. It's about 9.5 ounces, which is about 270 grams, and most of that weight comes from the excellent build quality. The lens is in fact made completely out of metal, or at least I think so. And it just feels amazing and heavy duty and strong in the hand. This does not feel like a cheap lens despite being tiny. It comes with your standard front and back caps, the pinch cap and the twisty cap. And then the lens hood itself is also made of metal, and it just feels really good. It's extremely strong. It doesn't feel flimsy like most lens hoods do. It is reversible for storage, of course. And it does seem to be slightly magnetized because when you put it on the camera, it just clicks into place super nicely. And then in terms of weather sealing, it does have a gasket around the lens mount. Now, both my APS-C bodies that I tested this on, the A6000 and the ZVE10, they do not have any sort of weather sealing, so I didn't take it out into anything too crazy. But a couple of days ago, I did take it into a little bit of a light snowfall. I put some pictures up on the screen here, and it survived just fine. From an actual design and usability standpoint, I mean, this thing, obviously it's tiny. It makes my A6000 quite literally a pocket camera. I can fit this in my jacket pocket without the lens hood on, which, oh my god, amazing. This lenses like this are one of the reasons I switched to Sony from Canon way back in 2019. But in any case, the actual design of this lens, it's very no BS, very minimalist. You have your focusing ring on the front. You have a spinny aperture ring that has a super nice click. If you don't want to use the aperture ring itself, you can set it to A mode and then just let the camera control the aperture, obviously. So yeah, size, weight, build quality, fantastic. Obviously Sigma, is focusing mostly on creating a compact lens here at the cost of, f-stop, of course, and I'd say they definitely succeeded. This thing is beautiful and it is tiny. Now, in terms of image quality, I'm not much of a pixel people, but I put a couple of samples on screen here at 300 to 500% crop so you can look at the corners and stuff. To my eyes, personally, the entire frame looks completely razor sharp from edge to edge, even, shooting with the wide open, so to speak, at f4. And when you stop down, it looks amazing too. Obviously, there is some diffraction when you start to hit, f16, that sort of thing, but images look incredibly out of this thing. Now, in terms of any sort of optical anomalies or flaws, this lens does have quite a bit of distortion. Most wide-angle lenses suffer from distortion, but it's pretty heavy. So I have found that you can fix it pretty easily with a single click in Lightroom, but it is kind of mustache style, kind of like that. So for straight lines, such as skyscrapers and that sort of thing, you might see slight bending, and you'll have to kind of fix it manually in post-processing. It's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely something I did notice. I have some samples up on the screen here of before and after corrections so you can see it for yourself. On that same subject, the vignette when shooting at f4 is pretty strong. I have found that you need to do about a +50 push to sort of correct the corners. Now, I personally don't mind this too much as I do enjoy a light vignette. So typically, I wasn't too concerned, and I was usually shooting at f8, during midday anyways. So you don't really notice it much, but in any case, I put some vignette samples on the screen here and some before and after correction samples. Now for chromatic aberration, I typically don't notice it that much, maybe I'm just blind, but one of my typical tests is to photograph branches against a sunlit sky, and when you're looking at it without zooming in, you don't see any chromatic aberration whatsoever. If you crop into about 300%, you will see some slight fringing around the edges, but I found simply clicking the remove chromatic aberration setting in Lightroom fixed that pretty easily, so not an issue for me. And then as far as flare resistance, it's not perfect. I put some samples up on the screen here of me shooting either into the sun or into artificial light sources, but you do tend to see a little bit of ghosting. However, you do not see any loss of contrast, which is interesting. So yeah, needless to say, despite some of the issues with distortion, the images that come out of this lens are just fabulous. No complaints from me there. Now, when it comes to autofocus, I really don't have too much to say because like most lenses, the autofocus is fast and super reliable and dead silent. No complaints, that's it. But with that being said, there is an AF/MF switch on here, so you can switch to manual focus. And I found the manual focus to feel pretty nice on this thing. Obviously it is focused by LEGO, so there's no like extra stops or anything like that. But it feels pretty responsive, quick, and it just feels really good to use. So who is this lens actually good for? I would say anybody who shoots wide angle photos that doesn't need a super bright aperture. And I know that sounds kind of basic, but that's kind of the truth. Like if you either shoot only during daytime or you use a tripod at night, this thing is pretty much going to be what you need. Like if a compact size is more important to you than a super bright aperture, like it is for me, then the Sigma 17mm f4 is probably the move. I'll of course drop an affiliate link down below if you want to purchase it through my link. Obviously I get a slight commission so I can do more of these reviews. But yeah guys, that pretty much sums up this review, and thank you so much for watching.